So we spoke about when to start, what to start, how to understand if you should really start with that problem or not. Again, I just summarize that if the problem is bigger and you think there is a way that you can solve it, then you should start, right? Then also I spoke about emotional readiness, how emotionally we should be ready to be an entrepreneur journey. I spoke about the fluctuation. I spoke about the 4 Fs: friends, families, foes, and strangers, and finance. Then I also spoke about personal health. Now in this particular section, I would be talking about, now that you have decided, should I start as a solo founder? Should I start as a co-founder? This section will mainly talk about these two topics, and there's a pros and there's a cons that I would talk about in this section. The journey of startup is like a new life, right? You date and you find the person interesting, then you plan to marry. It's the same thing in startup. You're starting a new life. Sometimes you might start solo, right? So when you are starting solo, you don't have to look out for anybody. You just go on your own and you start the business. But when you are looking for a co-founder, there's a lot of ingredients, lot of matchmaking, lot of characters that come together. As I said, just like a marriage, you date, you talk to each other, you understand, are we sharing the same vision? So let me pinpoint for now a co-founder, right? Finding a co-founder. It's very important you understand there are certain pointers that comes to today's world that co-founder plays a big role. Yes, that is absolutely true. So the co-founder complements with new technologies, new skills. So maybe I'm very good at marketing. My co-founder is a technological guy. Maybe I'm very good at consulting. My co-founder is good at marketing. So these are the skills that has to come together, right? In co-founding a company, there's a lot of benefits. Two different people coming together merges new ideas, new vision, new products, and new problems is solved. And co-founder always gives you a shoulder, and that is very important. That's why I said you should first date and then decide to really marry with a startup, right? Maybe you come up with an idea and you find a co-founder who aligns with that idea, or maybe the founder will come and invite you to be their co-founder and gives an idea, and you think that idea is great and you want to start and join the journey. Yes, that is good, but are you sure the co-founder will stand next to you as long as you're going to this journey? That is very critical. As I said, each of these founders, each of these entrepreneurs have their own personal limitations. Please be clear to talk that out, discuss that out in your meetings, that how long this person is ready to spend or invest time on this particular idea or a startup. Because you're going to share all the ideas, also not only technically, but legally, be it an equity, be it on papers. So once you do all this, the co-founder stepping back is a big challenge for your business, for your reputation, for your journey further. So co-founder has to understand that what is the risk he or she is getting into, right? So you might go and pursue somebody to be your co-founder, or there are some people who are interested to join you. That doesn't mean it will be successful. So the good things, as I said, support, complementing the skill, then it will be a journey that you both can discuss and take decisions. And again, it is a huge value for a company to have two founders, and for VCs today having co-founders is always a big advantage for them, because they don't have to bank on only one person but bank on 2% who can be a bigger advantage, which can be a bigger advantage to them. But caution, the co-founder also can create a problem. There are many stories such that in India especially, we always have this baggage of ego. You know, I'm not saying everybody, but that has become a common stance. I need to be a CEO, you should be a CTO, I should be a CFO. It doesn't work like that in a startup. You know, your customer doesn't give any interest on these parts. Who is your founder? Who is your CEO? Yes, of course, once you grow big, maybe that becomes a topic of discussion. But in initial days, nobody cares. What they really care is your startup, your product, your problem solving skills, how much can you really bring value to my challenges in the business. So co-founders are very critical part of the business. So make sure your co-founder is down to earth, understands his challenge, and it doesn't have any conflict of interest even before you start. That is very important. And legally bringing into action means your company is set, your founders are there. So tomorrow if this co-founder wants to leave, you should have perfect agreements in place that how your company will continue to sustain even without him or her. So understand this nitty-gritties. India is interesting, but so is the challenges are bigger. So make sure your co-founders are well aligned with your ideas, with your vision, and not having any ego. Ego plays a big problem. I've seen very closely how many big successful companies have closed down, have lost customers. There are many examples if you Google it. Why is that happening? And it is becoming more and more common in Indian scenario because there is no clear guidelines, no clear understanding between founders even before start. And that's where co-founder issue becomes bigger. It can make or break. And many times it's been a marvelous success, like Flipkart, like Zerodha. They're all co-founders. They have two people in it. They have been very successful. And there are many such stories like BharatPe, like different stories that I can bring up, but I don't want to list out everything here. But there are certain challenges with co-founders. Now coming back to the solo founder, fantastic stories. You can be one-on-one, who can make decisions, who can make or break. You don't have any limitations, you can go ahead. But there is also a risk. You have to be 365 days, 24/7 working on your idea, working on your company, making it grow. If you don't have certain skills, you have to either acquire it or outsource it or find employees who have that skills. In that scenario, you should hire seniors or somebody who has really burnt their fingers, learned from the startup. They are your real resources. So always look out for such people who are already in the startup world. Don't go and just look at seniors who are in corporate world. Corporate world is more structured. A startup, I would call it as a pirate. We don't know what to do. We break it, we crack it, we go and keep exploring ourselves. But corporate is a navy. Everything is structured, everything is well aligned. You cannot get someone from that kind of way of life to a startup world. Startup world is totally unstructured. Let's be practical. Let's be real. You also as a founder don't know what will happen tomorrow. So therefore, your team as a solo founder should be very good, whom you can delegate the work, whom you can trust, whom you can train, and who are ready to learn. Unless you find this kind of team, you are in for a trouble. Henceforth, in the solo founders are very cautious to find a right team. You have to find the right mixture of team who can complement, who can be, as I said, easy to delegate and just leave it at that. Yes, I have delegated, he or she will take care, right? So also as a solo founder, remember you have to raise funds, you have to find customers, you have to fulfill the customer demand, technology. There are list of items that will go on forever. If you're really good at all of this and you don't have any dependency, then yes, there are many success stories. I'm not saying solo founders is a no-go. It has been a very successful journey. The best thing is no complication of legalities, how much shares I should own, how much shares you will own, and tomorrow if you're leaving, what will I do with my shares? How do I get back the shares to the company? Because if a founder takes 50% of the share and leaves the company, a VC or a funding will not happen unless you are completely successful on the customer side. Because customer doesn't care, you have founders or you have, what equity. They are interested in, is the business really true? Is the product really going to helpful? But for an VC, it's critical that if a co-founder who was there with you and left with 50% share, it is no go for them. Unless that founder is ready to return back the equity. So therefore, in a co-founding scenario, you should have a founder's agreement and legally binded, approved by Indian corporate affairs, so that you know that tomorrow if the founder is leaving, you don't have to close your company, or you don't have to do a hard bargain, hard negotiation. And because you trust in the idea, and because that particular co-founder is not trusting, it's a big challenge.